Are you curious about what it's like to be a live touring professional? Perhaps you're curious about what it's like to be a transgender live touring professional. Well, then you are in the right place. What is happening, roadies? Larry Milburn here from Roadie Free Radio, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the music and film industry. My guest this week on the podcast was none other than Laura Nagtegaal. I hope I said that right. Nagtegaal. She's Danish. I had to get that out. Danish, Dutch. From the Netherlands. You know what I'm talking about. Don't judge, man. Anyway, a fantastic, inspirational transgender woman who shared her story openly with us on the podcast. If you want to listen to the full interview, you can do so by clicking the link in the description below or listening to the podcast wherever it is that you get your podcasts. This is a phenomenal tale about Laura writing an email to a band that she had worked with prior to transitioning, and now she was getting ready to go out with them again as Laura, and she wrote them an email to sort of head off any issues that may come up and to announce herself to the band. Very, very inspiring. I am touched that she was on the show and that she shared her story with us, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. I really appreciate you swinging by to have a listen. Check out some of our other videos. Leave me a comment in the description box below. I would love to engage with you and chat, find out what your story is, and find out who else you might want me to have on the podcast. If you ever want to hit me up, you can do so at info@roadiefreeradio.com. Here we go with Miss Laura Nagtegaal.
Call yourself a roadie?
I read in your Soundgirls interview the email that you sent once you transitioned to to a band that you were about to go out with, basically, that I think you had been with prior to your transition, correct?
Yeah, correct. I've been with them for 6 years now. We're currently almost 12 years.
Wow.
But they were the first band that I'd be out with again. And yeah, I wanted to let them know, break the ice, and show them the new me, so it wouldn't be there at the airport like, but wait, what, who's this?
Yeah.
And I thought of, like, you've read the email.
Yeah.
I wanted to breaking the ice while being dead serious, but giving them the chance to not take it too heavily. So adding some humor to it, adding some inside jokes to it, making it easier to swallow.
Yeah. Did anyone I mean, you've now been with them for another 6 years. Did anyone have an issue? Was it? I should say. Actually, let me say. Was it difficult? Was it difficult for anyone?
No. Of the people whom I expected to be awkward about it, they had the warmest responses, and it was still a positive reaction. But I would, like, on the spectrum of the reactions that I got, the most negative was, "I will support you 100%." So cold, but business-like. That was the least positive, and still it was positive.
Sure.
And others were openly heartwarming, completely accepting, and even in the shows that happened soon after, sometimes there would be people that knew the band, knew the crew, knew me prior to. "Hey, but where's this dude? This dude isn't here anymore," some of my colleagues would say. And like, "So who takes care of stage right now?" "She does."
Wow.
And they didn't notice, they wouldn't notice. And then all of a sudden you saw their jaws fall to the floor. Oh, okay. And that was it. In all of my years since, I've not had openly negative reactions. But and there was one band that asked me, where I was like, I'm not really sure this is going to be such a good combination. So I'll pass you to my colleague. Uh, but I do believe there's been negative fallout, nevertheless. But that was more in the sense of my hireability, my employability. Previously, I'd be on the road for 200 days a year.
Yeah.
Plus. Like, I think I averaged 195 or something. And I all of a sudden plummeted to barely 40, including travel days.
Wow.
And
Has that picked back up or no?
Yeah, it has. Yeah. And that was the sad but ironic thing of COVID actually happening. 2018, I'd sort of taken a break without taking a break. I was just wasn't shopping for gigs. I did a few loose shows, but I didn't go on tour. It was a weekend here, a weekend there. 2019, I decided, hey, I'm going to be fully available. I'm going to like doing this. You're going to like working with me. I'm available. Hi. And I stood there with my arms in the air. And stood there, and stood there, and stood there. And in the times before, I wouldn't, if I even had to pose the question, I wouldn't even need to finish the sentence. I'd be hired. And all of a sudden, hi, oh Laura, thanks for your interest. Do you have a resume? Previously, I had never even gotten that question. And of the about 50 managements and bands that I've been shopping with in 2019, one contacted me because of being recommended by a colleague. They said, you need to get Laura. And the other about 50, for one reason or the other, and yes, in my resume, I did openly say I'm transgender because I wanted to have it be a preemptive strike. Lay my cards open on the table. I'm transgender. If you don't want to deal with it, here's your way out. So we don't create the drama on tour, because drama on tour is never good when a crew member does it. So I wanted to avoid that situation from happening, but it most probably hurt my hireability. And working with mostly metal bands, and my resume being mostly with metal bands, being a woman, transgender at that, I think that made it really difficult to hire me, to employ me. And all of 2019, I was working hard to re-establish myself. I was hired by a band, I did some shows, I made sure I did all the networking, looked pretty and everything, and did all the right things. And yes, I had finally managed to climb up from that pit. From December 19 on, I had my calendar filled through fall of 22.
Wow.
I did this tour in January, February. I came home March 9th, when COVID was just about to go completely nuts. And it was set to be out on tour again on March 20th. But between March 9th and March 20th, all of my next 30 months of work got either tabled or just completely cancelled or postponed until further notice.
Wow.
And right now I'm back where I was. I'm doing better than I did. I hope it's because I'm good. And this is this imposter syndrome again.
There you go, guys. That is today's short clip. Again, if you want to listen to the full interview, you can do so by clicking that link below or find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you've only got one chance on this beautiful merry-go-round of life. So find your thing, find who you are, become that person, and face it head on just like Laura did. See you next time. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell if you want to get notified. And I'll see you guys in the next video on Roadie Free Radio.